And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are now going to preview tonight's game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Dallas Cowboys. So obviously the Cowboys are coming off, well, both teams are coming off of playing on Thanksgiving, but the Cowboys are coming off of a big win against the Commanders. Seattle coming off of a blowout loss to the 49ers. Listen, the line is big. It went down to 8. Now it's back up to, I think it's back up to 9, at least looking at CBS. Listen, it's a lot of points. I'm not going to make the same mistake I made last week. And, I'm annoyed at myself because I've kept saying this year, Dallas, they blow people out at home. They do. And I went against that and took Washington, which I shouldn't have done. I know I did pick the Jets earlier in the year when they played them, and that was a mistake too. But I'm not going to make the same mistake again. Seattle's coming in a little banged up. Kenneth Walker is doubtful for this game, so it's going to be Zach Charbonnet who's going to be the lead back again. He really didn't do much against the Niners, and kind of expect more of the same tonight against the Cowboys. Geno Smith, he got banged up a couple weeks ago. Really didn't play well against the 49ers on Thursday. I think Dallas should win by, I think Dallas wins and covers the number. Again, I wouldn't be surprised with anything that may happen in this game tonight. I've seen it all. But I think the Cowboys at home, that's one thing that I shouldn't go against, because I have gone against it a couple of times and it's backfired. Seattle is the best team that they've faced at home so far, which is not really saying much. When you look at the Commanders, the Patriots, the Jets, the Giants, I guess maybe you could say the Rams, because the Rams have beaten the Seahawks twice. I mean, Dallas dropped 43 points against them earlier in the season. So yeah, I don't think Seattle's gonna be able to keep up with with Dallas. I mean, Dak Prescott's been playing really well as of late. Right now, I mean, he's almost got 3,000 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The big thing too is I think Tony Pollard has started to get it going a little bit. He's had a touchdown in the last 2 games. He had a 27-yard run against Washington last week, which was his longest run of the game. He was averaging 6.1 yards per attempt last week. So, it's been going up the last couple of weeks, so maybe, he's starting to get his legs underneath him. CeeDee Lamb has been great this year. If we look at the league rankings for both teams, so the Cowboys are 5th when it comes to passing yards per game. Seattle is 15th. Rushing yards per game, the Cowboys are 13th. The Seahawks are 26th. And then points per game, Cowboys are actually number 1 in the league, and the Seahawks are 18th. So Cowboys dominate the Seahawks when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. Then on the defensive side of the ball, Cowboys are 2nd against the pass. Seahawks are 24th. And the way Dak Prescott's been playing and how, him and his receivers have been, on point as of late, I think that's going to continue tonight. Cowboys are 13th against the run. Seahawks are 21st. And then points allowed, the Cowboys are 4th and the Seahawks are 22nd. So just looking at that alone, I mean, the Cowboys are clearly the better team here. I think they should win by at least 10. I'm going to take them. And whatever happens tonight happens. But you know what? I can't do it. After what happened last week, now, you know what's going to happen? Seattle's going to, cover somehow. But I can't take Seattle. I can't do it. I can't do it. But now, when it comes to the Cowboys, how do I see them, stacking up against the rest of the teams in the NFC? I did mention I think they're number 3 in the NFC. I know earlier in the year, I had the Lions over them, but the way the Lions defense has been playing and Jared Goff and how he's been turning the ball over, I can't do that now. I think when these two teams play against each other later in the year, I think Dallas is going to win. So I right now I would put Dallas ahead of Detroit. So Detroit right now is at number 4. And again, I mean the Lions they have a lot of talent on their team, and they could go into Dallas because I'm pretty sure this game is in Dallas, and they could win. And then it's like okay, all right, but right now I just don't see that happening. But I still look at the Eagles and the Niners as the two teams, as the top two teams. I'm not going to put Dallas in the same category as them. Now, it also depends on matchups too. They match up better against Philadelphia than they do against the 49ers. They could have very easily beat the Eagles this year. I mean, there are a few games where the Eagles could have easily lost. Like, they could have lost to the Chiefs, they could have lost to Dallas, they could have lost to Buffalo, but they won all those games. And their only loss of the season is against the Jets, which they should have won that game if Hurts doesn't throw that pass. But that's the NFL for you. You just have no idea what is going to happen week to week. And the Jets beating the Eagles as their only loss is a prime example of that. Yeah, but Dallas, I think, is a good team. And I think this team can go to the Super Bowl. I think they definitely can. But I got to see it to believe it. That's where I'm at. Because this team every year, for as long as I've been alive, because I never saw the Cowboys, and all their champion, the good Cowboys from all those years ago, with Michael Irving and Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith. I didn't see that. These Cowboys right here are the only Cowboys that I know, and that is a team that has Super Bowl aspirations every year. They get to the playoffs and they don't do anything. They maybe win a playoff game, but then they don't get past the second round. And you know who you could relate that to? The baseball team that I root for that is displayed all over my room, and that is the New York Yankees. Because Yankees were great in the 90s. You get to the 2000s, yeah, not so much. But at least with the Yankees, they've won in the 2000s. They won in 2009. And they've made it back to the World Series in 2003 and 2001. They won in 2000. Cowboys, you can't say that about them. They have not made it back. Well, now with the Yankees, yeah, it's been a while. But it's been even longer for the Cowboys. So, and the Yankees have made it to championship series. The Cowboys have not made it to the NFC Championship game since I've been alive. It hasn't happened. So I got to see it to believe it. Now, the way Dak Prescott has been playing, the running game has gotten it going. The defense is still forcing turnovers. This team could do it. I said they could do it last year too. Believe me, I was nervous going in that playoff game against the Niners. I was like, the Cowboys can win this game, and they could have. They definitely had their chances, but Dak Prescott turned the ball over, and the 49ers did just enough offensively to win that game, because that final score was 19-12. It was not a high-scoring game at all. But time will tell. Time will tell. The NFC is a weak conference, and the Cowboys can take advantage of that. There's no more Aaron Rodgers. There's no more Drew Brees. There's no more Tom Brady with the Bucs, even though that was a short, time. No more Russell Wilson in Seattle, even though you're playing Seattle tonight. And Seattle made the playoffs last year, even with Geno Smith at quarterback. Rams are weaker. The Cardinals, they were a playoff team a couple years ago. They're bad. Well, obviously part of that has to do with Kyler being hurt this year, but still. I mean, it's a weaker conference. It's really what I'm trying to say. So they could take advantage of that. If the Eagles and the 49ers get upset in the playoffs and the Cowboys avoid playing them, Cowboys can find themselves in the Super Bowl, or at least find themselves in an NFC Championship game. But like I said, only time will tell. But this, you know what? But for Seattle, because we talked about the Cowboys more in this segment, this is a big game for Seattle. I don't think they're going to win it. Like I said, I got the Cowboys winning and covering, but doesn't mean it's not a big game for them because they have not been playing well as of late. They've lost back-to-back games to divisional opponents. Geno Smith hasn't been playing great as of late. You got to find a way to win this game tonight because you got the Rams behind you. You got the Packers. They're knocking on the door as well, like I talked about earlier in the show. If you're not too careful, you're going to find yourself on the outside looking in. The Geno Smith story was nice, but like I've been saying recently, they're not going to go very far with Geno Smith, the quarterback, when it comes to the playoffs. They're just not. He still has a place in this league. He could still, he's been okay as a starter recently, but I don't look at him as somebody that is going to propel you to where you want to go. It's just not going to happen. But I think, credit to him. It's been a long road for him, and he was able to be the starter last year, and lead Seattle to the playoffs, which is something that no one really expected. People expected them to be one of the worst teams in the league, and that was just far from it. And right now they're in a playoff spot again, but he's not a guy that is going to lead you to a Super Bowl. He's not. So Seattle's going to have to upgrade a quarterback at some point. So, but they got to find a way to win this game tonight. It's going to be really tough because Dallas has been so good at home, and Seattle's not coming in, hot. They're coming in, they're coming in flat. They're struggling, and Dallas could definitely take advantage of that. And this game could get ugly very quick. Because Dallas could, you saw on Thanksgiving, that fourth quarter, they outscored Washington 25-0. Did I say first quarter, fourth quarter? 25-0 in that fourth quarter. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen tonight, but, Seattle turns the ball over, gives the Cowboys short field in any way. Could very well find yourself in that same situation that Washington was in on Thanksgiving. So, and listen, I went over the league rankings for both teams. Yeah, it's might be a mismatch tonight, but we'll see. We'll see. Week 13, we're moving right along. Before you know it, college football is going to be over, before the NFL is, but. We're closer. Like I said, earlier in the week, I think we're closer to the end than we are to the beginning. And it's just going to get nuts at the end because there's still a lot of playoff spots that are up for grabs. I had the same conversation, doing the baseball show, talking about the wild card situation there. It's kind of the same here, in both conferences. You just don't really know. Anything can change. But that's it for the show today. Tomorrow, speaking of baseball, we got the doubleheader tomorrow. We got football, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and then we got the baseball show at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so make sure to tune in for those. I'm going to be working on getting yesterday's show, reposted, the 4 parts. So in case you missed anything, you'll be able to just, check out each individual segment on its own. Of course, the live stream is up as well. So if you just want to go in and do that, you can as well. Got shorts coming out today, throughout the day, so make sure to, be on the lookout for those and leave a comment on them. And, that's really it. So that's all the time that we have for today. I thank you guys for watching. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. Enjoy the game tonight, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.